Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for his excellent speech. I obviously agree with everything he just said, because this is a really important debate, and I think the motion put forward by His Majesty's Opposition is so significant for young people. I've probably not been more worried for, or this is the most I've ever been worried for young people and their future prospects. And while I don't doubt the intentions of many of the speakers on the opposite side, I have to say I do sense a massive disconnect between government policy. I think my right honourable friend for Chingford and Woodford Green spoke about the triple whammy, which I will come on to some of those policies. I'm conscious of time. But there is a massive disconnect between what government is saying it is doing and what the reality on the ground is. Because when I speak to businesses in my constituency of Meriden and Solihull East, what I'm increasingly hearing is businesses saying actually that they can't take on any young people. The costs of doing business are so high. On polling day in the recent elections, a business owner came up to me while I was knocking on doors and said, I just want to say that actually I just don't know if it's worth it anymore doing that. And that really did strike me as very, very significantly, because I just thought, well, what a sad state of affairs that you've got someone who's grafting away, running a small business, and all he wants to do is hire people, do the right thing, and he's unable to do so. And it's really, really significant. And there are three things that have had a huge impact. If it had been just one of the interventions, it's possible that there would have been some impact on the labour market, because it's a fundamental of basic economics that if you interfere in the labour market, there will be a consequence. And naturally, business owners who have to make logical decisions will decide to adjust their employment numbers accordingly, and they'll do what they can afford, but of course they have to make a profit. But because it has been the triple whammy, as has been referred to, so the business rates impact, the national insurance, the jobs tax, and of course the Employment Rights Act, which is possibly one of the single most damaging pieces of legislation done to business by any single government. And I think we will see the impact of that. I think the honourable member for Banbury talked about what bits of the ERA we would repeal. Well, look, I would repeal everything that's got to do with the liberation of trade unions, because what we've really seen, and that legislation was not about employment rights. That legislation was a love letter to trade unions. That legislation was there to ensure that trade unions, the hand of the state, could interfere on private enterprise, and we are starting to see the consequences of that, and that will only increase, by the way, because of course when it comes down to it, and my right honourable friend for East Hampshire made this argument, I thought, very logically and very eloquently. When it comes down to it and a business owner has to make a decision, he used the hypothetical of the 18-year-old and the 30-year-old. Well, the reality is business owners have to make those decisions, and of course they take the individual with more experience, because that individual requires less training, they've proven they're resilient, they've proven that kind of opportunity cost of hiring them is much lower than the 18-year-old. And I have to say, when I ran a business, I loved hiring apprentices and young people. They had a hunger, but of course you can only do that within the parameters of what is affordable and what profits that you can project in your own small business. And the consequence of the impact of the government's policies is that actually youth unemployment is so high. It's at 14.5%, much higher than when they took office in 2024. In 16 to 17 year olds, it's 30.7%. These are huge numbers, and I really do worry about that. Just recently, I held a debate in Westminster Hall on the impact of the government's policies on rural pubs, because obviously, and it's been alluded to here today, hospitality, leisure, retail, these are great employers, not just of the Saturday job, but of young people. And actually the impact of those pieces of policy have meant that those pubs, if they are staying open, aren't able to hire more young people. It's going the opposite way, and we are seeing the impact. And the consequence of that, as has been alluded to many times and has been said by a number of members, the employment, having work, there is dignity in that. It gives young people the soft skills, or the soft underscore hard skills, as my honourable friend referred to, and it gets them ready for life, and it gives them an opportunity to do so. And while there might be other structural issues, such as getting on the work ladder, the reality is that first job, it has so much positive impact on young people. And and as we've heard, whether it's sweeping floors, it's about making sure that they're able to get to work. I still remember the 16-year-old I hired once who didn't have his tie done up and his shirt tucked in, but I took a risk on him. And it was a risk because I had to train him up and do that. And then it was only when, and I said to him, young man, you're going to have to tuck your shirt in and do your tie up. And it was only 2 years later when there was a grad who had come to interview. I said, send him in. And as he was going in, he said, tuck your shirt in and do your tie up. And, it just made me laugh. I thought, look how far that young individual has come on. And he went on to do, other forms of employment and go up the jobs ladder, and get higher wages and all the other things. And I take great pride in all the young people I employed and I train. And so flexibility in the labour market is really, really important, and so is making sure that we don't increase, and the government doesn't increase burdens on businesses. And I did think that, and I come back to that disconnect, that there was the minister who I actually have great time for, who did the opening debate, spent a great and a valiant effort. I have lots of time for the minister who will be closing as well, but I've not heard him speak yet, so I'll reserve their judgment. But the honourable member made a valiant effort of defending the government's record. But there was no acknowledgement of the fact that the unemployment rates have gone up, and this is a natural consequence of the interventions by the government. And there's no prospect, by the way, there's no indication of how they're going to get those down, because for the best will in the world, they can spend as much money trying to train them up and doing intervention, all that kind of thing. If businesses aren't hiring, the unemployment rate will still be the unemployment rate, and that is a thing. Actually, I invite the minister who will be closing to address that point. And what reassurances is he going to give to those 16-year-olds who or those 18-year-olds, or those young people who want that hope, who want to build their lives? And look, there is, and I'll end on this point because I know my honourable friend will want to come in. But I just recently I was at the opening of the Bluebell Wood Cafe in my constituency in the north of North Solihull. It was an idea that I came up with, and I worked with Andy Street, the former mayor of the West Midlands, and it was to make sure that we had, because hospitality is a big employer in my industry. I've got the National Exhibition Centre, I've got the largest regional hotel in the Hilton Metropole, and many others. And they all talk about the need for skills. We talked about University College Birmingham. We talked to them to bring over to North Solihull a restaurant, a training restaurant for top level training of chefs, maitre d's. And actually, when I cut the ribbon on that, the main chef there said, actually, we're training level 1 apprentices to do level 3 work. And I can tell you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I invite you to come and do a visit there if you'd like to, because there's top football clubs going there to recruit, there's top restaurateurs going there to recruit, but then there have to be jobs at the end of the line, and that is why this is so important. So I urge the government to reflect on their policies and to consider the impact they've had on the futures and prospects of young people.